Welcome, wrestling fans. We have the new head coach for the University of Buffalo, Donnie Vinson. How does that sound, Coach Vinson?
I'm definitely getting used to it, but it's something that I'm enjoying so far. It's been a really fun and exciting experience for me.
Yeah, and so this must be kind of a whirlwind. I don't know, 3 or 4 days. I saw you at the Olympic trials, coaching Gwiz in the corner with Cornell. Then on Sunday, the big news comes out. So you're having a press conference. You're talking to people like me. I'm sure that it's a busy time for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that you know that the situation was kind of set into action a little bit before everyone else found out. Uh, but yeah, excuse me. Me just trying to stay focused on the Olympic trials and finish out my stint at Cornell without causing too much drama. That was my end goal. That being said, everyone is super supportive. When I told the team and about the situation, they couldn't have been more happy for me. But it's definitely been a whirlwind. Like you said, I've been in the car. I'm currently living out of my car and out of my suitcase in the hotel. But that comes with the territory. And again, I couldn't be more excited for the welcome that I actually got and have received from the alumni, the administration, you name it. It's really just blown me away.
All right, so it's less than a month ago the news came out that the Buffalo job was open. What initially drew you to it and said this is something that I need to look into more?
I Yeah, I'm from New York. I've got deep ties within it. Everyone talks about the Club of Shamrock and what that used to be with Scott Green at the helm, and that's kind of how it all really started. My time going through that program and New York specifically, that those are probably my fondest memories, or at least that got me really addicted to the sport. So just that nostalgia of New York wrestling is super appealing to me. And then when you go and break down the state system, I'm a Binghamton grad. I've got a lot of pride for the state school and the SUNY system. Buffalo, that's no joke. It's a massive institution. We've got 30,000 people. We're in the MAC, which is an awesome conference. Buffalo itself, they've got 1 million people within the area, so I know that it's going to be an easy, nothing's easy, but it's going to be a place where I can definitely get a fan base. It's really the only Division 1 wrestling school in the area, and after talking to a bunch of people that are associated with the program, they again couldn't be more excited to get behind that. So me coming into the situation with their backing, their excitement, everything like that was super appealing again. And ultimately, it was the next step, right? I was a coach at Cornell for years. I went back, or I'm sorry, I went down to North Carolina to get that ACC feel, that Power Five feel. I enjoyed it. I had a great experience with Coach Pop. I learned a lot, but ultimately, I definitely did want to come back to the great state of New York. And with the opportunity that Cornell presented me with the associate head position, that was a no-brainer, right? Mike gave me the opportunity to really put my stamp on that program with him and his guidance. And I think that we crushed it. I think that the results were kind of spoke for themselves. And he knew that it was probably just a matter of time before I moved on. I've been specifically talking about these regional programs for a while, knowing that I would limit myself and not just jump into any situation. And it really had to be the right fit. But again, it was just a perfect storm. I wasn't expecting anything. I was really just enjoying the process and the success that I've been a part of. And I hope that all continues here. So again, I couldn't be more excited for it.
All right, so one of the first names you mentioned, Scott Green. I want to circle back to that later, so keep that in the back of your mind. But
You got it.
when your name kind of emerged, I was talking it over with some people, and they said, it'll be, and maybe you alluded to this a little bit, but great to have a New York guy in that specific role. We know Mike at Cornell is a New York guy. Pop down at NC State, he's not an in-state guy, but specifically Buffalo, why do you think it is important to have a New York guy in that role?
It's the New York State flagship institution. I think that title alone warrants someone with that state pride. And again, that is appealing to me. I don't think that I am. I think I was actually just created for this position. Honestly, I've been the grooming process with all the program builders. between Rob Cole, Pat Popolicio at Binghamton, at NC State, right? He did it twice. And then Mike really just going and putting his own flair on Cornell. So again, I've learned a bunch of, I've had a bunch of mentors that have prepared me for this so-called rebuild. And it's just the limits and the potential of this place really do seem limitless. So that with the guidance of someone who has that connection throughout the state and willing to retain the talent within state, that's got to be appealing for prospects everywhere, even in the region, right? We're only 3 hours from Pittsburgh. Ohio is right across the border. Michigan, when you cut through Canada, that's only 3 hours away. So again, on top of just New York alone, that the area is the hotbed of wrestling.
Sure. So in the past couple of weeks, there have been some articles about the position and the athletic department, not necessarily painting it in a positive light, but from kind of an objective perspective, I was looking at it as your name's involved with this. He's a top guy at Cornell, coming off back-to-back trophy seasons. You're putting guys on world teams, winning world medals, getting being in the mix for Olympic team berth. So you weren't desperate to leave. Like, you wouldn't leave unless it was a really good situation. Tell me why I'm right.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? Again, I wasn't expecting anything. The situation just arose, and I took advantage of it. But the presentation that the administration put together for me, the resources, being in the MAC, seeing the developmental of the new landscape within the MAC, right? Coach Borelli had an awesome run at Central Michigan. Frank Beasley's doing awesome things with George Mason. They're coming up and through. Lock Haven's coming off of another All-American. So there's a lot of good buzz coming into it, and I'm sure that they were excited about me, right? Again, I had a lot of success, and hopefully that follows me. But they keep saying that I'm over-prepared, which is a shock to me. But the more I look at it, it does make sense. It seems like I've got the appropriate answers, the appropriate vision, and with their support, the administrative support, again, it was no brainer. They're taking a chance on me. They provided me with the resources for me to be comfortable and make this transition comfortably, and I'm indebted to them. So I'm going to do everything that we can to work hand in hand with the administration. They've addressed some of the issues, and there's two sides to every story. So we have an understanding with it, but we're coming up with an attack plan to really just ease the guys on the team. Again, they weren't too open about the hiring process, which is the first time I've ever heard anything like that. You always hear names thrown around, but even when I was coming up here for my interviews and stuff, I still had no idea what my or who else was applying for it. So they were doing a lot of their own internal research, and they were going to make the right hire. So I'm just very appreciative that they ultimately chose me.
One of the words you used was over-prepared. So, as you're here, kind of first steps, what are some plans, ideas, things you want to tackle? I'm sure you have goals and action plans. What are some things early on that you either need to improve, implement, or take away in order for you to be successful like you ultimately want to?
Yeah, my first goal is again just to settle all the nerves that are here during any transition. Talking about the athletes specifically, they're really wondering what the heck's going to go on with their future. So it's no secret that I had about half the team jump into the portal right away. But fortunately, that's not the end all be all, right? I'm a very open-minded person. I understand where these young athletes are coming from at their age, right? I too had to deal with the transition with Coach Pop leaving my junior year to go down to NC State. So there's a lot of distractions going on. And again, I couldn't have had a better meeting with the team yesterday. I've had a bunch of them come up and ask me these questions, and we're going to be working through it through their situations together. And again, that's not going to happen overnight, but that's a 2-week plan for me to allow them to see what I have to bring into the room. And again, if they decide to go somewhere else, I'm not going to hold it against them. I've got an open door policy. Hopefully they come back with a a better vision of what they left with. And ultimately that's my goal, to go and ease everything into it. Then, I've got to go and get a staff. There are some individuals that are still here that I'm interested in holding on to. That being said, this is going to be a decent rebuild, and I do want to put my own stamp on a few things. So I've got a few people that have reached out that are very intriguing to me, and that would be the next major part. So I can go and continue recruiting, getting on the road, and eventually have my assistants take over and set the tone for the practice room and the housekeeping agenda.
All right, so you've already mentioned the coaches you've worked under, really some great ones, Mike Gray, Pat Pop, Rob Cole. What are some things, now that you have your own program, maybe about each individual person, either some traits or some ways of doing things that you want to kind of take away from each of those guys and, put into action on your own?
Wow. I'm going to end up leaving some people out here, I'm sure. I guess I'll just start with the coaching, the coaches that I had, right? Pat Pop, everyone knows about his culture, right? It's top notch. It's well respected. It's what I grew up with through the Binghamton program. I don't think I'll go to that level of commitment to everything like that. These guys are college kids, but I definitely see the benefits in having at least regulations for the guys, right? You don't want a bunch of young college kids just going crazy and ultimately tarnishing the brand of what you're trying to go and promote, right? So again, having rules, having guidelines, all that stuff, and being stern on the line that you do draw, right? No one wants any gray area. And if there is gray area, there's going to be a discussion and reasoning behind all the justification. When you go to Rob Cole, right, I think that he's truly he's a manager at heart, right? I mean, he's constantly on the phone. He's constantly hustling. The alumni networking that he does, the fundraising, the true organizational skills and building something so organically. That's what I'm going to take from him. And I don't think that there's a better person to be able to reference back to, right? He's got a phone. I've already been in contact with him and again, slowly making my adjustments, what he recommends for projects for bringing in donor dollars. And then Mike Gray, right? He reached out to me in a very similar situation. We've got young kids. We're all about that family atmosphere, which was a new umbrella that was opened at Cornell, right? I was expecting something going into Cornell again, right, after my experience there, and it wasn't anything like that, which was really cool. Again, I give credit to Mike for really putting his own stamp on the Cornell brand, and again, really making it that family environment. Two other people that I'd like to mention are Frank Beasley, or I guess three people, right? Frank Beasley, Dennis Papadopoulos, and Damian Hahn. The way that they carry themselves with just the positive energy and the lightheartedness, that's what I plan on being as a head coach, right? I know that kind of relationship is hard to maintain in my role, but I do want them to really see me as a mentor, like I have seen all my other colleagues.
All right. In two of the guys that we've mentioned a couple times, I wanted to hit back. Rob Cole, it's been well documented. I know I've written extensively about the Rob Cole coaching tree, and Pat Pop as well. That's growing. Adam Hall just got the head coaching job, a month or so ago. So what is it specifically from the coaching of an assistant coach or maybe a wrestler standpoint that kind of prepares you guys to be leaders of men? Because, there's a huge number of guys that have been churned out by both of those head coaches that are now coaching at the D1 level.
Yeah. Geez, I'm hoping just the experience has prepared me for it. Again, and success. I've been fortunate enough to be in very successful programs. For me to go and take all that credit from the athletes and the head coaches and stuff, that'd just be ridiculous. But it really helps a resume, right? I look good on paper. I'm super grateful for that. But I guess, with the groundwork that they've laid within our industry, the administration has to see the positives that are coming from that. So again, me spending 4 years under Pat, 3 years under Rob, another 3 years under Mike, Damien, you name it. I've got all these names associated with me who are doing successful things, who have been successful in our field, and I'm guessing that they just want me to have a little bit of their success, right? And that's what I'm going to do. If I have a little bit of all their success, that's one big successful story, and that I believe that's what's prepared me. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, we all kind of draw back on our experiences as we're trying to learn and teach others. So, looking at your career, specifically your 2012 NCAA run, if you look at it on paper, you just say fourth seeded guy places third, pretty good tournament. But you look deeper into it. Seeded fourth, losing the first round, 7 straight wins, 4 bonus points, I think, 4 bonus point wins, avenging that loss, ultimately taking third. You can coach a Vito and a Yanni, and that's awesome. But I think more often than not, you're probably going to be dealing with guys that lose in the first round, guys that don't have the success that they ultimately envision. So I'm sure you're not going to these kids saying, well, back in my day when I wrestled at the 2012 NCAA tournament, you're probably not phrasing it like that, but I imagine you can relate to these guys in those sorts of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you talk about that experience with Pat, he'll tell you that I also got pinned in my second match, but being the fourth seed really saved me. They didn't go and slap the mat. But it really is a whirlwind. I think that tournament really propelled my career for wrestling and ultimately the position that I'm in now. And yeah, that's a relatable situation to go and present these guys. I've got more than half my team is from New York. They know exactly where my hometown is, just that little quick blink off of 81. And it's funny, the relationships that we can go and make. And when you go and think about New York wrestling, you go and think of guys like Kyle Dake, number one, right? JP O'Connor, Yanni Diakomahalis. We've got a ton of studs. My name's not dropped too often, right? So I was a decent recruit. I wasn't that top tier guy, but Pat took a nice thought that I had something there, right? And he's also known for just being able to extract the best out of each athlete that he has. And again, that's just another one of the attributes that I'm going to be able to obtain from him, and then what I have obtained from him, right? When you talk about the thoroughbreds like the Yannis and the Vitos and stuff, you're right. You kind of just have to really monitor how they're doing, like within their mind, within their body. They're all special. I was not like that, right? I had to, not saying that they don't work, right? But some things comes easier to other individuals. But the resilience that I learned from Coach Pop, and I guess just throughout that career, being a New York guy, having that chip on your shoulder. I was runner up at a lot of tournaments, a lot of national tournaments, a lot of state tournaments. I don't have a state title. All these things are relatable, right? So that's what you can do, right? Just keep again going back to past experiences, making those connections with the guys, and saying that you've kind of been in a similar situation, right? No situation is the same, but I've seen a lot of them where we can kind of put some things together.
Right, and you had kind of touched on this early in it. Your kind of array of experiences at different schools, I feel like that's going to help you now that you have your own program. Going to a school like Binghamton and then coaching there, and then the Ivy League, and just kind of a different way of dealing, admissions and other stuff, academic requirements, and then Power Five school on the rise, North Carolina State. Kind of put that all together. You kind of have a good, I don't know, a handbook of different experiences that you can kind of mold into your own as you're leading a program.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's what I plan on doing. Again, every time I get really comfortable in a situation, I go and get pulled out of that situation, right? I think some of the best teams that I've ever been a part of were those original teams at Cornell with the Nashon Garrett, Gabe Dean, Brian Realbuto, Dylan Palacio. Seeing that talent level not bring home a trophy, right? That was heartbreaking, and to go and see, like, yes, just not talent alone. You have to continually stay focused throughout the entire year. All these end goals are super important, right? Like, again, every training situation is different. Every academic situation is different. All these things are coming together collectively for me, and for me to go and apply that. That's what I'm looking forward to.
All right. So as an assistant coach, I was, doing the write up on you. Lot of cool stuff over the years. What are you the most proud of being associated with at this point?
The young gentleman that I've helped produce, the flood of support that I've received from former athletes, former colleagues, all these people that I didn't know they were all out there. Well, I knew they were out there, but I didn't know what kind of impact that I've had. That's really cool, right? The trophies, all these things that I've come back with, it wouldn't be without those guys. So the fact that I have a lasting impression on a whole slew of people, that's the best part. That's why I do it. That's what keeps me motivated to just keep changing lives, helping accomplish goals, dreams. Yeah, that's if you don't like what you're doing, then you're definitely in the wrong industry. This isn't an easy industry. It's a ton of time. It's away from your family, but the rewards that you get to go and receive from other individuals, that's what's nice.
All right. So as we wrap up, I know Scott Green is probably going to watch this. He's a guy that likes to give me a hard time, and I do the same thing to him. You got to have like an embarrassing or some sort of Scott Green story or two for me.
Oh man, I know if I tell you a story, he's going to go and double down and give you some information that I definitely don't want to hear. But geez, my so I have one story, and we were actually just talking about it this past weekend at the Olympic trials. It's not a fun story for me. I was redshirting. We had gone out to the Dave Schultz tournament. Me and my best friend were actually wrestling Greco. I had a fairly successful Greco career. This was my first uh, decent sized tournament, and only as 18 years old. Like this was big, right? I'm going to go to the Schultz. I'm going to wrestle at the Olympic Training Center. There's going to be international competition. It's all good. And again, I was a bright eyed athlete, ready to go and take over the world. And I get in there and I wrestled an opponent from India, and man, he just mopped me all over the place. And Scott comes back and looks at me. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, this guy is unbelievably strong. Like he's a grown man. And ultimately, I ended up losing that match. I ended up losing my next match. So I go 0-2 for the first time at a tournament. And then on the counterpart, my buddy was in a round robin and he went 0-4. So we were 0-6 on the tournament for our first big competition. And Scott Green went and changed my name in his phone to Owen Vinson. So that's just the humor that you get. And again, people will go and question the tactics and everything like that. But that playful banter, that's what I was looking for, right? It wasn't a bash on me or anything like that. But he did let me know for a long time that I'm better than that. I should never go in anything. And just that breakdown and I guess when you go and draw it out like that, it's fun, but it also gets the point across. And he's witty. You know that he's creative with his joking and his banter. But he's gonna laugh that you asked me to tell you a story because I'm a terrible storyteller. So he'll give you the more appropriate version, I'm sure. But that's just one of a thousand that really stuck with me.
I'm sure. All right. So wrapping up, is there anything else we haven't hit on that you want people to know about yourself, Buffalo Wrestling, anything in general?
I This place is cool, right? Again, it's Buffalo. We've got wings, we've got football, we've got the Sabres. It's a awesome city in the heart of wrestling, USA, right? Uh, and it's on the rise. Again, the MAC with the restructuring of everything like that, and the support that I've received. It's really exciting times, and I just can't wait to hit the next chapter of UB wrestling. And I hope that the fans and the support are at the level that I am for the excitement.
All right, Donnie Vinson, thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you.